And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And I'm going to start my short presentation, and I hope that everybody can hear me clearly. I'm going to talk about the energy, technology, and women, so the hidden revolution, and how accessing energy and technology is quietly transforming women's power, productivity, and leadership. My name is Geuna, and I'm head of programs at Énergie pour le Monde, Energy for the World in English. It's a French foundation based in Paris. So I want to start with an example, a project we are working for now in Senegal, in the south region called Casamance, and in a municipality called Niassia. The project is called Semer. In French, Semer means to sow. And we are working with 750 women in small groups, growing vegetables, managing markets, gardens, and selling agricultural produce, actually. What is the constraint? The constraint is that for years, unreliable access to water and no energy. So no irrigation in the dry season, no preservation for agricultural products, and no processing after dark, so in the evening. So what does the project want to do? Semer projects want to change that. So we want to provide solar-powered water pumps, improve storage infrastructure, and technical training. And the result of this project is that women gain control over their time, their production, and their income. Some of them now are able to sell to market beyond their village for the first time. So what does it mean? It means that transformation did not come from a confidence workshop or just a leadership seminar, but it comes from access to energy and technology. So this is it's a fundamental thing that we understood. So what we are going to talk today is exactly on that. So how the hidden revolution linking energy, technology, and women's empowerment. It's happening now in communities across sub-Saharan Africa and beyond. So when we talk about empowerment and why empowerment often misses the real issue, because the gap between the discourse and the reality remains stubborn. Most of the programs today focus still on changing the women themselves, their confidence, leadership skills, mindset, networks, but they leave the untouched that something is more fundamental, the structural condition that enable or constrain a woman's capacity to act. So you cannot inspire your way out of a broken environment. When women's lives transform in lasting ways, three structural conditions have changed simultaneously. The access to time. So they have freedom from time-consuming, energy-intensive domestic and survival tasks. Don't forget that women in Africa still use a lot of time every day to collect firewood, collecting water, doing many other works that's just wasting a lot of time. The second thing is access to economic opportunity. So the infrastructure and tools needed to generate income. And then the third thing is to access knowledge and network. So have connectivity, information, and the ability to reach different markets apart from their small markets in their village or their small town. Just to give you an example about the energy gap, how this energy gap has a gender dimension in Africa. Over than 60 million people in sub-Saharan Africa is without electricity today. So it means that more or less half of the population in Africa still live without electricity. More than 3% more unpaid domestic and care work by women and girls than men. So this is a very important issue to take into consideration. And also consider that between 3 and 6 hours per day are lost to energy-related tasks like collecting water, firewood, open fire cooking, etc. So this is the invisible burden. Women are not just disproportionately affected by energy poverty, they are also the primary managers of energy in their household. So they can decide what fuel to use, how much to spend, how to allocate it. And when the system is broken, women absorb the consequences in time, in their health, in economic exclusion. So this is a very important market insight. When the energy system improves, women are typically the first to capture the gains. They adapt quickly, invest in new opportunities, and reinvest earning into their families and communities at higher rates than men. We have proven that, is clearly proven by data, and it's an important thing to keep in mind. This is not only a social observation, it's a market insight, and it's very important. So energy means the liberation of time. Because when you talk about time poverty, the most overlooked consequence of energy poverty. This is a real issue. It's a real structural tax on women's time, imposed every single day, every year, for their entire life. Just to give you an example, if you talk about grain processing, without energy, it takes at least 3 hours by hand, even more in many situations. With energy, you can do it in 20 minutes with electric mills, for example. Water collection, it means working several kilometers daily on foot, being exposing to every kind of situations, violences, harassment. Sometimes they don't find water, so it's very complicated situation. With energy, you can have solar water pump on site. Cooking, for example, without energy means open fire, constant tending, indoor air pollution, with health complications, of course, especially for women, elder, and children. With energy means improved cook stoves or also electric cooking. And also, when you're talking about working hours, without energy, it means that it ends at the sunset. With most you have electric lights, so you can work even in the night, you can study in the evening, for example. This is most important things for girls, for example. So what we can see that women in an electrified households report spending significantly more time in income-generating activities, not because the attitude changed, but because the infrastructure changed. This is really important. When time is freed, women do not need to be told what to do with. They already know what to do, definitely. So the energy is an economic multiplier. Electricity is the difference between subsistence and growth for women entrepreneurs. What electricity enables for small businesses? But for example, refrigeration, so it means food preservation and cold storage services, extended operating hours beyond sunset, digital payments and access to online markets, machinery for processing and manufacturing, phone charging stations and service businesses, sewing workshops, and food processing units. This is a consistent partners. In communities where reliable electricity arrives, women are typically among the first to open new businesses, not because someone told them to do, but because the opportunity was suddenly there, and they understand that clearly. And women who previously sold raw agricultural products gain the capacity to process, to preserve, and package them, moving up the value chain, accessing regional markets, generating higher and more stable income. So it means that economic activity was always latent. Energy just made it possible. And what we can say is that energy allows women to move from survival to strategy, from subsistence to entrepreneurship. So when we talk about technology, I mean, technology is a gateway. Women as architects of the transition. So when we talk about technology and connectivity, energy powers connectivity, which opens an entirely different category of opportunity. Mobile banking and digital financial services, online markets and e-commerce, distance learning and professional development, health information and telemedicine as well. For example, mobile money in Africa adoption in Africa grew faster in communities where electrification allows phones to stay charged. So the geographical barrier, one of the oldest constraints on women's economic participation, is being quietly dismantled. Of course, technology does not eliminate inequality automatically, but it removes barriers, and this is very important. And removing barriers is where empowerment begins. So I want to just give you an example of another project we are going to start in probably in a few months. It's called FIERS, and it will be in Guinea. This project is on training and on renewable energy, especially solar energy. What is the context? Guinea aims for universal electricity access by 2030. So, but it faces a critical shortage of qualified local technicians. What is the approach that we are going to take? I mean, we want to use this, what we call the skill reverse engineering. So starting from what the labor markets actually need, and we are going to design training accordingly. So working with the private sector strictly. With a very strong gender inclusion, a design principle, not just an add-on. It means having campaigns targeting girls, families, and community actors, and give them adapted pedagogical approaches to include women and girls in this kind of new market. What is the pathway? I mean, it's internship and apprenticeship open to women with partner companies into a sector that is historically inaccessible to them. And we know that any sector that excludes half of its talents pools is a sector that's underperformed. So we are talking about today, half of the population that is almost excluded, women and girls, from many economical possibilities. And when we talk about the business case for women's energy access, actually, it's one of the most underexploited market opportunities on the African continent. As I told you before, in sub-Saharan Africa, more than 60 million people still live without electricity. And women run a significant share of that economy. When energy arrives, new markets emerge very, very fast. And this is important for many of us, actually. It's important for products and service companies, because rural electrification creates demand for solar home systems, cook stoves, mobile payments, cold chain logistics. And it's a gender-smart design products built with women's use cases in mind, dramatically increase the adoption and the retention. It's important for development organizations and NGOs. Of course, we are an NGOs, and it's very important for us as well. The most important and effective programs bring private sector partner in early, and not as a donor, but as a co-designer, actually. So we work with the private sector. And this is a new, quietly new strategy for the NGOs in general today. And when the business model works, the impact scales. That's very clear. When it does not, no amount of grants funding will make it sustainable. And it's clear as well. But it's also important for investors. Women-led or women-inclusive energy enterprises show stronger repayment rates, lower churns, and deeper community penetration. And the evidence on gender lens investing is converging. The risk-adjusted returns are real. And it's also important for everyone in this room, I'm sure. The question is not whether this is a good thing. The question is who moves first and who captures the value. You are not selling into an existing market. You are just building one. So empowerment and business are not in a tension here. They are the same opportunity. So just go back to Niassia in Senegal, where we start this very short presentation. Just say that when the solar pumps arrived and when the storage infrastructure was built, when the conditions finally changed, no one ran a leadership workshop. No one told those women to be more ambitious. The conditions just changed and they got to work. So finally, the leverage is not in changing the women, but the leverage is in changing the conditions. And the revolution happens in market gardens and solar workshops, in village cooperatives and charging stations, in the quiet moment when a woman checks her mobile money balance for the first time. And it's happening now across Africa and also across the other continent like Asia and in the world. So I'm just going to conclude saying that when women gain access to energy and technology, they gain something even more important, that the power to shape their own future. So I stop here. My presentation ends, and this is also my contact if you are interested to discuss more on what we are doing as in our foundation, where exactly. We are working actually in different areas in Africa, in Senegal, in Guinea, in Cameroon, in Rwanda, in Madagascar, and other countries as well. So thank you very much.